Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of Day 4 with the man Frank SCALISH. We have reached 253 and we are back live now. What, you getting interrupted in the studio, Frank?
Yeah, of course I am. I don't know
what you
what
get interrupted by. I know you got a house full of people over there.
My wife came in here to tell me something and I heard none of it.
Oh, your dad, Frank, Grandpa Frank, you got pets, kids, the whole SCALISH household.
Yeah, dude, it's a lot of people here. We got sons, daughters, significant others, wives, babies, dogs. The house has been turned upside down.
And then Frankie's coming into town. He unfortunately wasn't here today, so he could actually jump on live with you. But Frankie's coming to town. They just moved to Tennessee.
Yeah, he's driving in today. Actually, he'll be here later tonight
with more dog, another dog.
Yeah.
What is Bama and oh my god,
Lenny.
I forgot that Bama and Lenny. What do Bama and Lenny think of this?
They've been locked and hiding in the basement, and Lenny's been puking every day.
That's similar to your reaction to a house full of people.
It's very close. We're very simpatico.
Do you want to dive in at all to your wasp nest fiasco, or just?
Oh my god, yeah!
Because you kind of scared me a little bit there, Uncle Frank.
Yeah, we almost may not have had a show.
We almost ended at 252.
Yeah, no shit, no kidding. Yeah, so the day, like it was the day before everybody was getting here, I was walking around the house and I noticed that I had a yellow jacket crawled up under one of the awnings and got into in between the house. They started building a hive in the wall, and so I needed to eradicate that before it became a problem, and I would have to bust the walls down. And so I got that foamy wasp spray.
Yeah,
it shoots like 30 feet. And so I was on the ground and I hammered it with the foam, and the foam was, like basketball size. And these things were flying through the foam, dude. They were flying out through the foam.
The foam is supposed to hit them and then keep them as they die in their own home. But they were
flying through it. Dude, they were flying through it like it wasn't even there. And so I said, okay, I'm going to go get Yellow Jacket Killer because clearly this stuff ain't doing it. So I went in and I got Yellow Jacket spray, and I have an extension ladder. It's like I don't know exactly how tall it is, but it goes.
Ones you get at the state fair where they're like, look how easy this is. Look how stable it is.
No.
No? Oh, my dad always got the extension ladders at the state fair.
No, it's a real extension ladder, and it'll get me to the top of the second floor windows. And so I extended it out probably halfway. So what is that? 20 feet, maybe 25 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And I put it about 4 feet away from the hole where they dug the hole in the house. And I climbed up the ladder, and I was literally extended my arm out. I was like 3 feet away from it, and I emptied half a can in this hole. And they came out flying, and I walked down the ladder, and then they're flying, they're dropping, they're coming out and dropping. I'm like, oh yeah, this stuff's going to do the trick. So I grabbed the ladder, I moved the ladder really close to the hole. And I said, I'll give it a couple of hours, let them all croak if they can, and then I'll go up there and empty the other half of the can in the hole. So a couple hours go by. I see one or two flying in, one or two flying out. Nothing crazy. Half of them will buzz around the hole and leave. They won't even go in. So I'm like, I'm there. Yep. So I climb back up the ladder. I shove the nozzle in. I empty the other half of the can out. About 10 or 12 come out. I climb down the ladder, no big deal. I go in the basement. I get a tube of caulk because now I'm going to fill this thing with, silicone so they can't get back in it. Later on towards the evening around dinner time, I go back out and I look and I see a couple buzzing around, but they won't go in the hole. You know what I mean? So I'm like, oh yeah, I got them. These are just bees that were out that are trying to come back now. So I climb up the ladder and I shove that cock tube in the hole and I make a squeeze and like 30 come out. And I'm like, holy crap, because I was right there. I start backpedaling down the ladder, watching them to make sure they're not coming on me. And I freaking sidestepped the ladder and missed the ladder.
Oh,
and
no.
I started to fall and I had one foot on a rung. And so I thought if I can kick off of it, I could land on my feet. And I didn't want
The
to get
advantage of having cats and not dogs. You've seen it done a million times.
a million times. Well, I used to be a diver in high school. So I figured if I can kick off, I can get on my feet. And worst case scenario, I twist an ankle or something. But I didn't want my leg to get caught in the ladder and I didn't want to hit my head on the ground. Well, I lost my bearings in the air. When I kicked off horizontally and I landed on my driveway on my side.
Did it knock the wind out of you?
It knocked the life out of me, dude. I didn't know what happened. I was like a kid. You know, when a kid gets hurt, they jump
had
up.
A bicycle helmet or something on.
Yeah, when kids get hurt, they hit the ground and they run away from where they fell.
Yep.
That's exactly what I did. I hit the ground. My face was in my neighbor's bushes, and I was on my side on the driveway, and I ran away from it, and I sat down on the back steps, catching my breath. And dude, man, I was like, oh.
So the bush kind of stops. It's the only time in history that having your face in the neighbor's bush saved you.
Yeah. And this is our last episode.
What?
Yeah,
it's an observation.
100%. Good call out of you. Yeah, and so I thought, you know, Trailer Rick wiped out, and he had to have shoulder surgery, and I thought, here we go. Me and Trailer Rick are going to be sitting on the porch drinking bourbon together in rocking chairs, and oh yeah, dude, I was freaking the hell out, man.
Through a straw, by the way, because he won't be able to lift it up there.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was freaked out, dude. So then,
y'all bruised up.
I didn't bruise.
You don't age either. Maybe you've got some weird genetic thing, because I mean, you don't age and you don't bruise. I mean, you're
here. I will be straight up 100% honest with all of you. I never felt like I was getting older until I fell off that freaking ladder. And I'll be honest with you, I worked out for years every single day, not to get big and buff, to stay healthy and in shape. Okay. If I didn't do that, I'm 100% sure that I would have dislocated my shoulder, broke my hip. I'm 100% positive of that, because there is no way on earth that I take a fall like that, land on the concrete, and don't get hurt. There's no chance of that. So I'm just you know, counting my blessings. So then I go, my wife's like, what's the matter with you? And I go, I just fell off the freaking ladder. And she's like, oh my God, you know, and she goes, where are you going? I go, I got to go finish filling them holes up so the bees don't come back. And I climbed back up on the ladder and finished the project. But yeah, I was, man alive, dude. And then the next day we go to the zoo and walk like 30 miles.
What's your favorite zoo animal? Like, I'm a big zoo guy. Like, if we go somewhere and there's like a quality zoo, like childless, me and Court will go to the zoo. I'll get the Dippin' Dots. We'll get the day park pat. Like, I'm a big zoo guy. What's your favorite can't miss exotic animal at the zoo, Frank?
I'm really fond of birds of prey, and I'm really fond of big cats.
I thought you were going to say the big cats.
Yeah, I love them. But here, I got to be honest with you. This is going to sound really wussy, but I can't stand to see these animals in cages.
Yeah.
It breaks my heart. And then, but what the Cleveland Zoo does is they'll take animals that are injured in the wild that could otherwise not survive. Naked mole rats. Yeah, I'm with you, man. Yeah, they should always be jet skiers in the zoo. But oh crap, I don't even know where I was thinking now.
Yeah, I was just asking about the big cats. Like I like a good snow leopard, but especially if it's like, this cat can't be released. That's where it's more okay.
Yeah, that's where I really like it. Like my favorite cat is an ocelot, to be honest with you. They're fishing cats. They're beautiful. And when I was younger, my mom had two. She had two, not pure ocelots, but bred.
Yeah.
And they looked just like a real ocelot. They were fabulous animals, man. I just love them. They're so unique. But yeah. So then we went, walking around in the zoo, and I'm like, well, my hip feels better now that I'm walking on it, so that's good. I was really worried about my shoulder, and so you can hold a weight outright with your arm, and then if you screwed up your rotator cuff, you couldn't do it. You wouldn't be able to. So I had a case of beer yesterday, and I went, let's see how the shoulder's doing. And I went like that. I'm like, yep, I'm in. No pain, no gain.
I don't know if you're aware, but the final stage of the BPT, we got a good show today. We got a signature series drop that's live now. We'll get to that later. And then we're going to talk a little bit about a phenomenon that's happening in Oklahoma right now that
happens here too.
Yeah, it's I titled this Wrong Place at the Wrong Time, which had to do with the fall and being out on the water when it's 110 degrees. And then we'll close the door or close the show with the trailer watchdog stories. Next week we'll announce that winner. So you have a couple more days to get your trailer watchdog stories. And if you have a nightmare trailering story, and we're going to redact the names, but go over some of those stories at the end of the show. But before we get to that, stage 7 of the MLF Bass Pro Tour is out of Sandusky. How far are you from Sandusky?
Hour and 40 minutes, hour and 35.
If you look at the standings, so in second, they're 2 hours into the day. 2 hours into the first day, right, Frank? Jeff Sprague is in second. He already has 34.15 in
Holy
just 2
crap,
hours
dude.
On 8 fish. That's impressive, right?
Well, 8 fish.
Yeah.
So he's averaging.
He has a 5.10 already.
Yeah, so he's averaging.
Mm-hmm.
What is he averaging? 8 fish, 30-some pounds.
Yeah. 8 times 4 is 32, over a 4-pound average.
Yeah, it's not
in the
bad.
First 2 hours. That would be impressive if Cole Floyd in the first 2 hours did not have 84.15 on 30 fish for a 3-pound average. He's averaging a 3-pounder every 4 minutes, Uncle Frank, and I'm not sure they're brown.
They may not be.
84.15, 30 fish. They've been fishing 120 minutes. He has 30 fish. He's averaging a 3-pounder every 4 minutes from the start of the tournament. His big fish is a 4.15. He's lapping the field. He has 84.15, second's 34.15, third is 32.2, and he doesn't have his live scope turned on either. He's caught a 3-pounder every 4 minutes. That's catching it, weighing it, releasing it, and catching another one. He's basically catching a 3-pounder on every cast.
So let me ask you,
and they're largemouth bass.
Let me ask
all
you
largemouth, Frank.
Yeah, I think I know where he's probably at. So let me ask you a dumb question. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Do you prefer 5 your best or as many as you could catch?
I have gotten, we're 7-8 years into the MLF thing now. 6 years.
I know. It's old news, but I'm just asking.
I have gotten to the point where I look at them completely different. And I fish some podunker stuff where it's every fish, and I obviously fish the traditional 5-fish stuff. And I think there are merits to both.
Yeah, I do too. I think there are merits to both. If I had my mentality is if I had as many fish as you could catch, I would be targeting 2 and 3 pounders and catching as many as I can conceivably.
Yeah, it just depends on what the minimum weight is. But yeah, like just the fact that like a Jeff Sprague is 50 pounds back and has a mid-20s bag already. If you were doing the best 5, totally different. It's apples and oranges.
Yeah, it's a completely different.
I like strategy. It. I enjoy watching both of them.
It's like 100% completely different strategy.
Yeah.
I remember when KVD did that, and he won it with smallmouth, and he was like averaging 2.5 pounds of bass, but he was catching them on every single cast.
On a jerkbait in Wisconsin, I think.
Yeah,
on the Mississippi,
jerk and a spinnerbait, I thought.
Yeah, that too.
But he was literally he literally was on a school of fish, and you can't catch up to that in a multiple fish game. You cannot catch up to that. So,
it'll be interesting. I mean, he's locked in for sure to the final round, but weight 0-2, so
they're lucky because the wind is laying down for them.
Yeah. Is Erie going to become a largemouth hotbed now, or are those bites always there?
They're always there. They're always there. They've always been there. Nobody targeted them because with the 5 fish limit thing, you almost can never win on a largemouth game. But with multiple fish, some of the estuaries off the lake, you could catch the rat crap out of them. And so what happens there is, again, it's a game of numbers, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what happens. But here's the weird thing, okay? The largemouth has started taking hold on the main lake.
Interesting. So you'll be smallmouth fishing and catch a largie.
Yeah. I've actually been smallmouth fishing in, 23, 24 feet of water and catching largemouth mixed in with them.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really wild.
The next Falcon Lake of the North, Sandusky, Ohio.
I think it might take a while for that, but it's
those things live like 15, 20 years, don't they? The largemouth up there and the small, you get down here 8, 9 years, 10 years, you're talking about a big giant fish dying of old age, growing year round, warm water, a lot of stuff up there. I mean, that's why everyone's big catching. At least my buddies in Minnesota too. They're like, these big fish,
they're
not bass, but even bluegill and walleye and crappie and stuff are twice as old.
Yeah. So they did scale studies on 5-pound smallmouth, and they found out that they're 15 years or older.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't even know a smallmouth could live 15 years.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the reasons their age is that you have to keep coming up with new colors, because as we've learned, fish get conditioned to things. And as it being the first Thursday of the month, I guess it's a northern color. It's not a northern color, but it kind of is. I guess it has roots up around the northern area.
Yeah, it does. So without further ado, I am releasing the Norman Fat Boy, and what I call this color True Perch. But this color is actually designed to mimic the juvenile perch, the 2 to 3.5 inch perch. And while their colors are developing into what you would see as a full-grown yellow perch, they're not quite there yet. And so it's kind of creamy looking. It's kind of pale. The bars stand out very well. If you ever notice, if a bass pukes up a small perch in your boat, it's almost whitish on the sides, and the bars are very prominent. Yeah. So I wanted that. I wanted it to be a really good triggering for these fish. But here's the cool thing about this pattern, okay? This will also mimic a juvenile bluegill to a degree, mostly because of the vertical bars. It'll mimic the juvenile bluegill. And what I found, because I've been fishing, I painted a bunch of these for myself when I painted this bait, and I had been fishing it, and there's a lake that I fish that has both bluegill and perch in it, and I literally went down the bank throwing this thing, and I caught a fish on every other cast with it. So it was on top of the game. So it has turned into one of my go-to colors. And so this morning before we went live, Matt called. He said, "Man, they're not up on Lurenet yet." And so we were frantically checking, and I knew that it's probably going to go up at 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern. And so right at 9 o'clock, I went on and it popped up, and I bought 10 of them right away because I don't want to have to paint them all for myself every time I want to throw one.
This is probably one of your simpler paint jobs, but very, very, very pretty.
Well, what we discussed on earlier shows was how the bass really can focus in on the contrast.
Yep.
And so what I wanted to do is I needed this bait contrasting because that's how the juveniles look. And so with the bars contrasting over that creamy side, and there's pearls and metallics in it too, but they're very fine. It's very ultra fine. I don't know if you could see them. Let me try.
No, you can.
They're very ultra fine. It's nothing is super stark on the bait except for the vertical bars. Even the oranges for the fin marks are very paled and pearled because they're not truly developed yet. And so that was the reasoning behind this. I wanted to mimic something that they're totally after, size-wise and color-wise. And I love the Fat Boy because to me, the Fat Boy, it's one of my go-to square baits before I pick up anything. You've seen it, it comes through wood really good. It comes through rocks really good. It also comes through the sparse grass great. And I have a tendency, a lot of the lakes here will have shoreline grass that just comes out off the shore a little bit. And I have a tendency to walk this bait through that grass. And there is a lake here that is a phenomenal offshore lake. And I had to do a video on the Fat Boy a couple years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago by now. And I'm like, how am I going to get a Fat Boy video in August? And I went to this lake because there's certain banks that have rock, wood, and grass on them. And I went to this lake, and sure than crap, dude, we beat the brakes off of them. And it was a great video, and I got to show it coming through grass, coming through blowdowns. It just turned out to be a really good video, and I don't want to say by accident, but it was by accident. I knew I could go there and get bites shallow, but I didn't know it was going to be a pattern, and it was a pattern. And so this bait's been kind of near and dear to me for quite a while. And, we get to talk about it all and everything. And I'm not competing anymore in tournaments. If I was still competing, I wouldn't even bring the name of the bait up, to be honest with you. I wouldn't even talk about it because I don't want everybody throwing it. But it's a butyrate bait. It's got a really dull, thuddy sound. It works great in muddy water. It works great in crystal clear water.
I'll say this. It's a cheap bait that performs like a $30 balsa in a way.
Oh, yeah.
Is the way I think of it. I throw when I throw a square bill now, which is few and far between, believe it or not. But I like the fact that you can lose one or two and you're not like, damn, like, I ordered those from Cliff Pace, or that was a freaking WEC Zoom that I freaking just dumped.
Yeah, well, here's the other thing about it. It casts a mile.
Yeah.
And I throw it on a Powell 725, and I have it on 12, 15, and 17. And the reason I do that is because I use each one for a different depth to reach. And it doesn't change the action 1 iota on it. And it casts so effortlessly. You're never muscling a cast. You're just doing it real smooth and soft. And you could set it right in there without making a big kaplash on the water, You could set it right in there, and oh man, it's a joy to throw. It just casts so good, and wind's not going to be a problem. And some of them balsa baits, they'll kite on you, especially the flat-sided balsa baits. I mean, that's like throwing a piece of bread. So it's a really good bait. I just love this bait. And so when I paint them for me. When I paint the Fat Boys, If I have to paint them for production,
Mm-hmm.
I'm paying 8
What
or
does the
9
little
for me.
tag say on there? Can you show what's on the tag? I'm always curious on the language that you use on the
Yeah,
tag.
so the
Is that
tag,
don't give away anything, but
well, yeah, whatever. So the tag is the date I finished the bait.
true perch. Okay. So
And
you
so
finished that bait 2 years ago.
yeah, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's what we're talking about when people are like, "Hey, can you do this? Can you say this?" It's yes, that's a good it's a inexpensive, it's a affordable bait.
Yeah, it is, but it's durable. The
Yeah.
gel coat finish on them will not trip, crack, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally durable. That's why this morning I bought 10 of them, because the ones that I hand paint, my clear coat will crack if I hit a rock with it. And so I buy the production ones because they're indestructible virtually. Um, I don't want to paint baits every other week to fish with. I want them painted and gel coated so I don't have to monkey around anymore with them. So that's why I did it. I wish this color was in the catalog, because I think this color here is very, very, very
Yeah, I
special.
still think we do all of your signature series colors at the end of the year, and then we talk Lurenet into letting us run a contest of all of the signature colors that you came out with previous year, and then they pick one that goes into the catalog, so you can get it in the XCS, you could get it in a DD22, you could get it in a
It just
jerkbait,
goes
maybe.
straight up.
I think that might be something
I would really love to see out of all the signature baits I've done already, if we lumped them into years,
I mean, surely they have that info, don't they? Like, hey, this is what we did. Yeah, I think we need to, as we work towards the second half of the year, I think that might be something cool to kind of just go back through over the colors of the signature series.
Yeah, I think we should take 3 colors a year.
What was the first, like, Frank SCALISH? Was it the color 7? Was that the first one that was like, hey, this is painted by Frank with the signature and all that? Is that kind of what kicked it off, or were you doing Frank SCALISH signature series? I know you were painting colors, but were they saying, hey, this is a Frank color before that?
So here's the weird thing. The first thing I ever did was the Perfect 10.
Right.
And
for the classic on Grand that Christie was in, right?
No, that was the Speed End.
Oh, okay. I thought the Speed End was Gunnersville.
The Speed End was Gunnersville. So the Perfect 10 Rogue was originally designed to reach bass in the deeper zone with a suspending jerkbait. So what happened was I did some largemouth colors, more shad base, more minnowy looking baits. And then I wanted some smallmouth ones. So I did a smallmouth color called Lemon Lime Crush. And I had a lime forehead on it and a kind of like a paled chartreuse back to it. And the lime bled into the pale chartreuse back. It was semi-transparent on the sides with, of course, pearls and metallics, and then a solid gut bag. What happened was the walleye guys got a hold of that bait. And the walleye guys got a hold of that bait and started destroying the walleyes on it. And then I started painting walleye colors in the Perfect 10, and we couldn't make enough fast enough. It exploded. The P10 got off the largemouth and smallmouth radar and went straight to the walleye game. That's when we lost control over the P10, because they wanted nothing to do with bass in that bait anymore, because the walleye guys literally were buying so many of them. The bass fishermen couldn't even compete with that, because a walleye guy, especially on the Great Lakes, they'll throw out what they call a bait set. Mm-hmm. So they'll have 6 rods out with 6 of them things on it. And they'll troll colors until they start getting a color that's going off. And then they start switching all their rods to the same color that's going off at the time. And so, bass angler is going to compete with that, because these guys are, they're buying 6 of everything always. They never buy 1. They're buying 6. And so,
it's hard to go back when you're trolling and get those baits unstuck.
So I wound up losing the bass game on them, but I had painted colors for myself on it. one of the colors I painted was, they called it lace minnow.
Yep, I remember. That's one of your favorite ones.
Yeah, but it was really a dace minnow. It was really modeled after a real thing called a dace.
Yep.
And and it, dude, I was peeling them on it, man. I mean, peeling them on it. And it's a real complicated pattern to paint. There's a lot of masking and a lot of overlays with it. It was real complicated. And so the walleye guys weren't gravitating towards it whatsoever. And I knew when they said the walleye guys ain't buying it, I knew it was going to be a matter of minutes before that color's gone. And so I went to all the shops around here and bought every single one they had. So I had them. So now I'm sitting on, a couple dozen of them. But yeah, that color is just special, man.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but that's what I see with this fat boy in the perch, the true perch color. This is an actual bait that I fish with, and I've been here. I did it in 2024. I've been fishing with it since then, and so it's just, man alive, dude.
It's interesting. So we did a couple shows. I think I even titled one of the bass are offshore, but that was probably about a month ago. And that was when everything was post spawn at that point. They were getting offshore.
Yeah.
We were talking about it, but something that is happening right now that I wanted to talk to you about at Oklahoma. Like, I pulled up the weather for Shawnee. It's where I live. Today, there's a heat advisory. These are the highs for the next, and it's been triple digits for the last week. And the next days coming up are 100, 101, 104, 102, 102, 104, 103, 104, 104, and 104, and that's through August 15th.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, there's a lot of fish that my buddies have been calling and talking to me about in Oklahoma, and they're like, dude, I just smashed them in 2 feet of water in 93-degree water.
Yeah.
Like catching them, like biggins that are up there in ultra, ultra shallow water. And I called and we were chatting about it on the phone. And I said, you know what? Let's just cut this conversation off and save it for day 4, number 253, because I'm curious if you've ever experienced the phenomenon of fish where you would think those fish would be on the thermocline, on bait in the deepest water, very sluggish, hard to catch, and they're cruising the shallows, catching them in a foot to 3 foot of water, in backs of pockets, on traditional things where you would expect them to be in the late fall pushing shad as they get ready to then go out to their winter haunts, but they're that deep in boiling water. Is that completely abnormal, or do you have, I'm assuming that that's a thing that when the conditions are right, those bigger fish vacate the offshore stuff and go cruise shallow?
Yeah. So here's what happens. Not all the fish vacate the offshore stuff, but there's a faction of bass. Now you got to realize something. We're talking about August, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all the bluegill that were born this spring are about 2 inches long. And there's a plethora of them shallow. It's a feeding opportunity, but it doesn't just happen with largemouth. The Bassmaster event that I took 4th on, ironically out of Sandusky, I was catching smallmouth in 1.5 foot of water. And here's what I mean by they don't all vacate at the same time. So I literally pulled up to my first spot. I made 6 casts. I had like almost 24 pounds, and I left. I said, I'm not catching another fish here. I need them for 3 days. And so I left, and I took my non-boater out to go catch a limit on some deeper fish that I had going, but they were all 3-pounders. We had a wind come in. We had gale warnings come in. They canceled the 2nd day of the tournament. The 3rd day of the tournament, when I went back there, I couldn't even get the boat there. The waves, the rollers were so big, it was slamming my boat on the bottom. the bass were gone. The shallow bass vacated. And I went out to my deep stuff, 26, 27 feet of water and did the damage out there. So I had two viable patterns going on, a very shallow water pattern and a very deep water pattern. The lake I told you about where I fished the Fat Boy on in August, same thing was going on. I had fish on offshore rock piles, but when I went to the bank, that pattern was on fire. And what I noticed when I was fishing there is all the bait fish were about that big. And when I said that big, so about 2 inches. And all the bait fish were up there running the bank. There was even small shad running the bank then in August, which that surprised me more than the bass being there, to be honest with you. The bluegill didn't surprise me, and the juvenile crappie didn't surprise me. It was the shad that surprised me. And they were all running the bank. And so that's when I realized that this is an incredibly viable pattern. Now, you have to understand that every bass in the system isn't doing this. And so you have to find places that they are doing it. And that's where process of elimination becomes important, because they'll have a preference to where they want to be predicated on what kind of bait's using it and what they're feeding it. You can't just go down a random bank and catch 100 bass. It's got to be the wind helped me out a lot on the largemouth game. It was a wind-blown bank. And so I had all the juvenile fish feeding on the plankton over there. That helped me out immensely. The other thing that helped me out, I had multiple cover options, both rock, wood, and grass. Not all. Sometimes it was all in the same. Sometimes it was one or the other. And I was just running down, targeting dark spots, and just literally plastering them.
So I did some research on this, and one of the things I found that you pointed out there that seems to be the most important, and thankfully in Oklahoma there's a lot of wind, is you have to have a combination of things for these fish to move shallow in extremely hot water. Yeah. And what I found is, article says when the lakes are very hot in the summer, shallow water generally tends to hold more dissolved oxygen than deep stratified water. And then one of the main components is because of constant mixing. The wind and wave action in the shallows keep the surface in contact with the atmosphere, replenishing oxygen continuously. And so that's why it can't just be a glass calm thing. It has to have some movement in it, and that deep water can become oxygen poor in hot weather because of how distinct the thermal stratification is.
Right. So
those fish are going up there because it is the most ideal conditions for them, even though in our head you would say, well, why would they be in this? It's got the most oxygen, the most bait, and that's where they're actually the most comfortable.
Correct. And here, this is when the deep dive app can really help you out, because you could see where the wind's coming in the future on it. And that's when the deep dive app will really, like, especially on the bigger reservoirs down south, where you're going, oh man, this stretch is going to be on fire from 10 to noon. And then, oh my God, from 4 to 6, I got to run over here because the wind's shifting. And it saves you a lot of random poking and hoping, because the thing that I've noticed about some of the bigger reservoirs is when they lay, if they lay a direction, let's say they lay north and south, for example, the main lake lays north and south, but there's a lot of little bends and turns and nooks and crannies that change the way the wind moves through the valley, through the lake. So what you think might be a really good wind-blown bank may not be. It may be something that is just past it or just in front of it, because of the way the lake's turning or lays, or the way the wind's funneling through the valley. That's where I found the deep dive app to really help me out in when I need to be fishing the wind. It gives me a really quick view of where I need to go. And you could watch it, because if let's say one stretch is getting hit for a length of time, that stretch will still be good when the wind switches initially.
Yep.
Because those bass don't just leave it. It's still oxygenated. It's still got everything going on it. It's just the wind's changing. It doesn't happen instantaneously. So if you see a stretch that's been getting solid wind for several hours or for a couple of days, that stretch is going to last even when the wind shifts. So you can't be fooled by it because there's no wind on it. But see, you wouldn't know that unless you looked at the deep dive app prior to say, oh yeah, this thing got wind for the last 2 days. You know what I mean? And then you could understand that you got time to fish that still. You know what I mean? Now 4 or 5 hours after the wind stops on it, they'll vacate it. But immediately they're not going to leave it. They'll be there for a couple hours.
And is that also one of the reasons why a top water when it's really hot out works too? Because you're able to target those fish that are up there super shallow?
I think it's because they are shallow, and when you run something over,
that's what I'm, yeah.
The one thing about a bass that freaks me out is that if they're shallow, they almost have to swipe at it. Mm-hmm. They may not be actively feeding on it, but they have to swipe at it. There's a guy here. He was inducted into the Ohio Hall of Fame with me. His name's George Pulaski. Phenomenal shallow water guy, like probably one of the best. He was literally catching bass on buzzbaits in December.
Yeah. But if somebody's talking Forestwood Cup, he's saying a lot of it is like that. But here's where I'm going. So in the fall, like a lot of the topwater bites or spring when they first get, you've got a lot of bait fish that are up there, right? Mm-hmm. So they're actively feeding on it. But I'm just thinking in my past experiences, a lot of times you'll get a big one that'll flush a buzzbait or eat a spook, and you don't see any bait fish that are up there, and it's in the summertime. And you're like, okay, what's that fish doing up there? Those are the fish that are up there because that's where it's the most comfortable for them because of the dissolved oxygen with the wind on it. And that's when you're catching those fish that aren't, actively pushing shad, brim, things like that. They're just they're just existing up there, and that bait gets into their strike zone and they react to it.
Yeah, and think about how much water you cover with a spook or a buzzbait. You're going for the percentage game there. I'm going to make 100,000 casts and I'm going to catch 10 good ones. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're playing the percentage game.
And I mean, this is way down the wormhole, but I mean, it's super hot out there. Look, there's all sorts of different articles that, like, I was just on this. There's all sorts of different articles of why summer change. There's all sorts of science, dissolves oxygen stuff, all sorts of cool stuff that you can read about that.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. But it's a viable pattern. It happens frequently, but it doesn't happen everywhere. You have to pay attention to.
And I think it's more important on lakes that don't have current flow.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, that's a huge key of it. Yeah. Like on lakes that have flow, that have the mixing water and things like that, that's where they're more likely to stay way offshore. We're talking about these lakes that don't have a lot of movement through the system.
Yeah, and they're not true grass lakes.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Because in true grass lakes, the bass could be as deep as the grass grows.
Yeah.
So we almost have to exclude true grass lakes from that. Although I've caught them super shallow in August on grass lakes too, but it's all predicated on the grass.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the Susquehanna is a river and has a lot of current.
Mm-hmm. It's just interesting. It's just not what you think of. And now, most of it's urchin related. So now you have a bait that you can suspend in a super shallow water column with technology that you can see them. You don't have to necessarily see them, but, it's easier to pick. I mean, they're not just littered up there. They're not everywhere up there.
No, you have to find them. I mean, you have to find them. And the crazy enough thing is that the more you bass fish, the more you recognize similarities. And you could draw comparisons from lake to lake predicated on weather conditions, watercolor. Like a lot of times I'd go to a lake and I go, oh yeah, I remember this kind of watercolor from whatever lake I was on. I got to throw these colors, blah, 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 blah. And it's almost without a thought. You just look at the water and what you got to throw. In the beginning, it was arduous because you didn't really know what color to throw. So you experimented a lot, right? And so then all of a sudden, as you start getting more experience, more time on the water, now you look at a watercolor and you don't even think about the color you're throwing. You just know which color you're throwing. And so that's a lot of it too. So now you go to these lakes and, like Lake Norman is a very, very wind generated lake, very wind generated. That's where I learned, that's when I actually first learned how important the wind was. Me and Troy used to fish the wind all the time there. Because if you weren't catching them, not because there wasn't fish everywhere else or in other places. It's just those fish were active. They were doing it. Everything was right. The conditions were right. And so we were putting all the percentages in our favor. And back then the lake also had, it had threadfin and bluebacks and everything in it. And so they're all plankton eaters. So you better be where the wind's going because that's where the bait's going. And so that's really where I learned the importance of fishing the wind was on that lake. And I've been fishing that lake, I don't even know how many years. I can't even tell you how many years. And so that lake taught me a lot. Before I ever went to leave to go fish Bassmasters, that lake taught me an awful lot about big, giant impoundments. And Norman didn't have a blade of grass in it. It started getting grass several years ago, but they made sure that it wasn't going to happen.
Make a note for another show. I don't want to get into this today, but something happened to me on Champlain last week that I have seen before, but I hadn't. So I had an area where there was just a ton of alewife, a ton of perch, a ton of white perch, a ton of bait. The fish were crashing through it in practice, caught multiple fours. And it was in the inland sea, but there's different sections of the inland sea.
Right.
So,
right.
I say, okay, well, they were over here and I go over there and it was clean. It was normal looking water in practice across the whole inland sea. And there was a rainstorm that came through the night before. Nothing that would affect it, in my opinion, that I thought would impact it. And I get over to this section and there's all sorts of little particles in the water. And there hadn't been those particles in the water before. Little pieces of grass. It almost looked like the beginning of an algae bloom. There was stuff on the surface, and the bait fish that had been there 48 hours before, gone. Bass, gone. White perch, gone. Yellow perch, gone. And it was like a 3 or 4 mile section that the water was dirty. There were little pieces of things in it. There was a film across the surface, and it hadn't been like that in that area before. And those fish just left it.
Yeah, so the particulate matter, it happens in Florida a lot with the sand. The water doesn't look dirty, but it looks like you could strain it out.
It just happened overnight, and I don't know. But anyway, is there enough there for a show of like, because some of the other stuff I was seeing, like the lines, the stratification lines of like little trash lines.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always heard guys say like, hey, if you go in and you're seeing those kind of straight wind lines with little trash and stuff, that's kicked a bunch of stuff up off this was the shallowest stuff I was fishing, kicked this stuff, and it's just not, I don't know. It was interesting.
I think it annoys them. The particulates get in their gills, and I think it bothers them. So they just stay in front of it or behind it.
Because I said, I was smashing them in practice and it was just pristine. And then the wind shifted and then there was just all sorts of little crap in the water. And I was like, this is interesting. Like I was getting it caught on my minnow when I would make a cast. Yeah, it hadn't been there for 3 days.
And the rest of the water looked like it had stuff, tiny little
right. But I couldn't tell if that was just the surface, if that went down, but it definitely changed the entire ecosystem of the section that I chose to fish. And I don't think a lot went down in that section either.
No, because
it wasn't like I missed it or anything. Well, like I think
But Matt, here's the other thing too, dude. You were fishing pelagics, and pelagics move all the time.
They moved a long way. They moved farther than I looked, some would say.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, you weren't not catching them. You were still...
No, I was catching them, but
they were not the fish you were catching.
I had the life cycle down there. I had the small bait fish, the minnows that were being eaten by the perch and the white perch and the bass that were going through the alewives and all that. And then 36 hours later, they weren't doing it in that 3-mile section like they had. And the only noticeable difference was these little pieces of crap everywhere that had not been there.
Yeah. I used to hate to be on the pelagic.
You know what I'm talking about, though?
Yeah, I know exactly.
And sometimes it'd be like a 6-inch piece of grass, but you're over 50 foot of water, but then there's like 1,000 of them all around and stuff.
Yeah, and the other thing too is it's more so that little, like, it looks like little metal flake floating around in the water, for lack of a better description. It's the particles. I don't think it's so much the eelgrass, it's as much as it is the particles that are going on. You got to pick a spot there, Lynn Buckets.
All right. Let's close the show with the story time. These are some of the submissions for the trailer watchdog story. And like I said, you still have a couple days to get these in. I think, did we say when is the cutoff? We're going to announce it on the 13th.
We're announcing it on the 13th.
So you can get it in through I'll call you. So the 12th is the last day. You can have it in, and then we'll pick our winner. But if you have a story, a nightmare trailer story, and we're just going to do some highlights just to give some people some ideas, and then the winner gets a new setup for either their Singer or Tandem axle up to a $500 value, I believe it is. Will be sent from Trailer Watchdog to you for free, just as a give back to the BTL listeners.
Right. I am. I am so happy that thing is on my trailer. Every time I hook up, dude, and I turn that thing on, I just go, I'm good.
So we'll start with this first one. Like I said, I'll redact the names and we won't go through all of them. But
I do not want to know any of
this
the names.
One caught my eye because this individual was towing his rig with a Subaru Impreza.
Okay.
Named Fernando.
We said there will be no names.
Yes. He said, back my Subaru Impreza down the ramp, hand loaded her on, gave her the old double slap, and said she's good. Pulled it forward a bit, clunk. That's when the wheel fell off. Literally, one of the reels rolled down the ramp before the trailer even left the water.
Oh my gosh.
I pushed the boat off the trailer and ended up getting a park ranger to let me store the boat in a closed marina a mile across the lake. Then it started sleeting and snowing. The ranger said it's got to be tomorrow or they're towing it out. He left the trailer in the parking lot and went home. So he had his boat across the lake at a spot where it wasn't supposed to be, and a one-wheeled trailer that he left in an abandoned parking lot. He then found a trailer on Craigslist for $600, picked it up at 6 a.m., went to the ramp, got the ranger to drive me to the marina. It snowed 2 inches. He had to wipe 2 inches of snow off the boat, idle it a mile back to the ramp, and load it onto the Craigslist trailer to get it home. He then found another guy to come get the busted trailer, pick it up, and had to pay $200 to get it fixed.
Holy crap.
He then got home with the new trailer, wasn't used to the new trailer, and promptly backed the brand new trailer through his garage door.
I'm going to suggest golf.
Oh my gosh, that was a fantastic one.
Yeah, that was good. That's funny, man. Of course, it's got to snow when you're doing it.
Yeah. This is the next one. He said this happened in the summer of 22 when his then fiance, his stepson, and him were on their way to northern Wisconsin to get married on the lake. So he had the boat. On the way up, my wife was driving, says to me, "I think the trailer tire is wiggling." To which I replied, "I'm sure it's fine." I hadn't had any issues in the previous 3 years with that boat. About an hour later, we stopped at a gas station, a small town, and I walked past the tire. And if you didn't know better, you'd have thought it was on fire with the amount of smoke and sizzling that you could hear.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Basically, the bearing had exploded, and we rode an hour on freeway speeds, and it completely melted it to the axle.
Holy crap.
Lucky for us, the town we stopped in was a farming town, and there were 2 random guys at the gas station who just happened to have a wide array of tools with them. I have ran into this situation, too, where I'm at the gas, and I'm fiddling with something on the boat, and the guy next to me is just an old school farmer. You know, you're in the middle of nowhere, and he's like, "Need some help, son?" And you're like, "I most certainly do."
If you don't mind.
Then you know they're judging you because you pull your toolbox out, and it's just like showing up to a tournament with a Snoopy pole.
Yeah, you pull your toolbox out and it's a Swiss Army knife. It got a screwdriver.
It took 3 hours to get the tire off.
Oh my God.
Shaved the melted metal off of the axle and replace it to make the last hour of the trip.
Holy smokes, man. See if that trailer watchdog would have sent the alarm off that axle was getting hot.
Would have noticed it even before the fiance, assuming then wife would have said, right. "Hey, that tire looks wobbly."
Yeah, exactly. And then of course it's coming from her, so he's like totally dismissing it.
Here's another one.
Yeah, sure, honey.
This is another one. Several years ago, I was heading up to a lake from another place. To a VRBO, and decided to trailer the boat. And on Thursday night, before their rental ended that Saturday, he goes, "As I was backing into the driveway after our day on the water, I heard a noise and noticed my driver's side trailer wheel was leaning drastically." For context, this was only about a 10-minute drive from the boat ramp to the VRBO. The following morning, we pulled the wheel and realized that there's a catastrophic failure in the bearings on the hub. I didn't realize the bearings had a wet or liquid system, which used oil instead of grease. It had been garage kept its entire life, well maintained, only had 120 hours on it and 15 years. But my lack of knowledge made me ignorant to the fact that there were O-rings present, which dried out, causing all of the oil to drain. Without any oil, the bearing nearly welded themselves together, causing my wheel to fall on an angle, destroying the spindle of the swing arm of the trailer. Unfortunate thing was the spindle was obsolete due to design change and only one supplier, which I had to have them overnight it.
God,
but the VRBO was running out.
Yeah, how much did that one cost you?
Yeah.
That's crazy. But see, here again, man, you'd have got the alarm that your axle's getting too hot.
Yeah. Here's one. It says the 4th of July is the crown jewel of the summer calendar where this individual lives. He had his Ranger all hitched up and ready to go. Tackle was dialed. Smalley bite was on. Much needed vacation. Headed to vacation. He then did a pre-trip walk around. A glance at the trailer tires revealed that they weren't just worn. They were shredded down to the steel belts, gleaming in the sun like a cruel joke.
That is a cruel joke, as Matt can attest. Sorry, baby. Yeah. I just kicked my cat in the head.
Oh, I thought you were saying that to me. I was like, oh, okay. That was strike one, but the tires are fixable. I got them swapped and started to breathe a sigh of relief. Strike two hit the very next day. While running to the gas station to fill the boat up in the vehicle, I noticed smoke coming from the right trailer tire. I pulled over and discovered that the trailer brakes were entirely shot, locked up, and wouldn't release.
Holy smokes, dude.
The clock was ticking down on departure and panic started to set in. I was right next to a shop and asked if they could look at my trailer. This was 11 a.m. on a Friday before the 4th of July holiday. The manager got me in right away, located the parts, but of course, they did not have the parts.
Of course not.
He then had to leave the boat, drive 2.5 hours around, picking up selected hardware parts that he needed, then drop the parts off to try to get everything sorted out. They got on the road, 4th of July traffic, finally made it to their destination, and the water was calling. But as he walked past the trailer, he said something looked terribly wrong. The brand new tires that he had just bought were sitting flush against the inside of the fenders.
What?
The friction from the drive had acted like a cheese grater, literally shaving them. He noticed this next to the lake, and they were on Mille Lacs, and it was glass calm out. So then they had the decision to make: do you fish, or do you try to figure out what the hell's going on with the trailer? He noticed that one of the tires was looking low, even though they were all brand new. And he found a ring in the sidewall, a full 1/4 inch of thick rubber right off of the sidewall of these new tires had come off. And he's got pictures to go along with this. The new tires were rubbed down due to the contact with the inner fender of the trailer during the entire towing process.
Holy crap.
He had to get the trailer and boat towed to the nearest shop. The diagnosis was a severely bent axle.
Okay,
and
I could see
it
how
ended up being a bent axle that was a result of the root of all of his problems on that.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. It doesn't take much either. Man alive. That was an expensive trip for that boy.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we've got dozens and dozens of these stories.
Yeah, it's so funny too, because, we park these, $100,000 boats on top of these trailers and neglect the trailer all the time.
The older ones are the problem too, because especially
yeah.
if you're a single axle, we'll do a couple more. Here's an entire weekend of trailering mishaps. When he was in his early 20s, they headed out for a long holiday weekend on Kentucky Lake to bass fish. In his 1988 1660 Pro Craft with the 90 Johnson.
Dude, we're going back now.
We left when I got off work at 12 a.m., rolled in the Piney Campground and land between the lakes. Really cool place. There's a lot of buffalo in there too. We were at Kentucky Lake. I just drove past, stopped and looked at the buffalo. Set up their tent camp and couldn't wait to get on the water to try skiing. Might have lost Frank at that point. And he said, which either of us had never done. Okay, you're back on it. So you're not hit. Shortly after launching, his buddy proves he's natural proficiently at snow skiing, translated to the water. In no time, he dropped to ski and was skiing gracefully. My turn, not as successful. However, a storm blew him off the water, so they headed back to camp. The rain was torrential, confined to the truck. They decided to get some sleep. They woke up to a river running through the middle of their tent because they were tent camping. Everything we had, every article of clothing was soaked. They get up in the morning to go to the ramp. And he said he felt a horrible shaking through the truck's steering wheel. In the dark, he got out to inspect the problem, and lo and behold, on my single axle trailer, all of the lug nuts had worked loose. Most were already gone, and only 2 were left semi-holding the wheel to the trailer.
Yeah, that's no bueno.
The wheel had wallered around until the lug nuts were 50% worn through the studs.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Like, you can't fix that.
No, you got it. No,
we tightened up the 2 that were still on and made it to an auto parts store and waited for it to open on a Saturday.
They had to replace the lugs.
Yeah. A bunch of different stuff on that one. I'm just, like I said, I'm just running through some of these stories here.
That's great. Yeah. So next show we'll have Alex on.
Yes.
And we'll go in detail on like a lot of these problems and stuff like that. Yeah. But it's, you know what? I never used to carry a lot of tools with me either. And then I changed that.
The older you get, the more tools you carry. And you always wonder why the old guys are like, I got that, I got this, I got that. And why the garages are never immaculate. You never go into an old guy's garage. Who's like an expert at something. And it's like, there's always like stuff.
Oh, there's
there's Charlie Hartley type guys, but the 99% of us, there's always stuff because they've had that one time.
Oh yeah.
You need this. One of the things that I found was interesting when I went to Mexico, Joey Cifuentes he carried a portable generator in the bed of his truck.
Yeah, that's not stupid.
And like one of the guys had a low tire, he added air in it. We used it like 3 times while we were there in Mexico for the week, and he would just fire that thing up, and it was.
Yeah, I carry a tire pump with me that could literally pump a semi tire up. It's a very high quality pump, and then I carry a 3,000-pound floor jack with me, ratchet straps, not little skinny ratchet straps, but like the kind you tow cars with. Those kind of ratchet straps. I carry tools, socket sets, battery power tools, and plug in the wall power tools. And I started doing all that pretty much after I worked at the body shop. I saw how important it was to be able to fix something. You could fix something a lot easier with the right tools. And then of course, traveling with Frankie really solidified all that, because Frankie was a mechanic. And so, we went to Gunnersville, and I think I got a flat on my truck tire at the hotel, and we had to get the tire off, and we couldn't get the tire off the truck. And Frankie had a rubber mallet, and we pounded the tire off and got it off. I believe that's how it went. He'll probably correct me on that one, but that's pretty much how it went. That's when I realized that you need to think about the tools you carry. Mm-hmm. You can't just randomly throw a bunch of shit in there. You got to think about it.
We'll end it with this nightmare story. This is an international trailer disaster.
Was he flying with it?
No, I said a few years ago, I just started to get into the world of bass fishing. I decided I would buy my first real bass boat. He said he set his search high and low, even seeing listings in Maine and nearby states. He lives in Canada.
Gotcha.
He said he finally found what he was looking for, an early 2000s Javelin Renegade 19.
All right.
Needed a little TLC, repowered with a 2014 175 Merc, located in Maine, 7-hour drive. And he said, I was 7 hours away from making my dream of owning a true bass boat. So crosses the border, heads into the States, hooks it up. When I arrived in Augusta, I met with the 2 brothers who were selling the boat. They gave me a bunch of stories explaining why they were selling it, but I didn't really care. All I could picture was sitting in the seat, cruising down the lake in my new ride. I inquired about the trailer, more specifically the bearings and the hubs. The sellers insisted that they were all recently replaced. I purchased the boat and started headed towards Canada.
Sure they were.
If you're familiar with the state of Maine, you'll know that there isn't much there, especially north of Bangor. Maine is my next road trip. I wish I had scheduled the time, or it didn't work out. But when I was up at Champlain, I wish I'd gone to Maine. I hear there's great fishing up there. I know Jeffries went up there, smashed.
Yeah.
If you're familiar with Maine, there isn't much, especially when you go north of Bangor. I-95 is long and quite vacant. I made it to Bangor, filled my truck up, and continued onward. About an hour later, I'm traveling on the highway talking to my buddy, and I start feeling a slight vibration in the truck.
That's the giveaway.
I immediately look in the passenger side mirror and watch my tire and hub detach from the single axle trailer. There's pictures that go along with this too. I somehow managed to slow down the whole assembly balance on the tip of the axle. I get stopped and the tire, wheel, and hub are literally balancing on the end of the axle. I am now in the middle of nowhere on a Saturday with only the clothes on my back, and I am up a creek without a paddle.
Yeah, buddy, you sure are.
Luckily, I find a garage with a tow truck. They come out and get my boat and trailer loaded onto the tow truck without an issue. Perfect. I'll be back on the road in no time, he thought.
Yeah.
Well, not at this shop. This shop was closed on the weekends. So now he has to spend 2 days in Lincoln, Maine, staying at the Whitetail Inn. A 7-hour trip turned into a 3-day ordeal. I like this. He said, I paid out of the ass for the new parts because apparently in Lincoln, Maine, you pay a premium for things.
Especially
I went on to call the guy I bought the boat from, who agreed to send me money to cover the repair. Overall, it cost him $1,200 for the tow, the shop bill, hotels, and the guy that he bought the boat from sent him $100.
What a sport. What a
He had to buy
sport.
clothes, food, hygiene products, everything you could think of, because he was just planning on picking it up and
yeah,
driving it back
and going
to Canada.
home. Yeah.
That was the end of it. When it was all said and done, I got back on the road, finally hit the U.S.-Canada border, where they interrogated me for hours, trying to figure out why I was gone as long as I was. Because
Right.
I told them that he was just going to go for the day. And
Yeah.
3 days later, came back and they said, whoa, what have you been doing, buddy?
Exactly. Oh, that's good, man. Yeah, the trailer that I threw the tire on was a single axle. And that was exciting when the tire came off. That was really exciting. Keeping the boat behind me.
Anyway, you got some days left. If you have a story, that's just a smattering of them. These will all be included in it. Frank will go over all of these. Like I said, I redact the names and things. I don't know if you know any of these guys are.
No, but we're gonna keep
or
it
locations.
That way.
And then next Thursday, Alex from Trailer Watchdog will be on. We'll have another show, and then he'll jump on in the second half of the show. We'll announce the winner and send them the get you hooked up with Trailer Watchdog as to whether you have a single axle, a double axle.
I actually have a code for the winner.
Okay, so they can just order it straight with the code then.
Yeah.
Do we have a discount code? Someone emailed me about that yesterday. But I couldn't remember what it was.
I think BTL 25 gets you some money off.
It is BTL 25.
Yeah, instead of making up new codes for everything, screw that. We'll just use BTL 25.
Okay. TrailerWatchdog.com.
Yeah. The
story thing was awesome. I've literally just been chuckling reading all of them.
Yeah, and it's
not like gallows laugh.
Well,
you know what I mean? Like,
well, Matt, you also have a trailer story.
Yeah.
You could
yeah,
say
I have a Ben axle now because I got it stuck at the border, crossing into Mexico. And it's been a fiasco because, Basque had to put a whole new trailer under that boat and things like that.
Right.
But it's just, I've towed with that. I've also had a single axle that my spare was flat, and I had the it was a metal or a aluminum trailer. It was an old Skeeter ZX190, and I didn't realize that I had nicked a corner and bent the aluminum. What is that goes over
the fender?
Yeah, the fender into the tire.
Oh,
so then as I was towing, right. But with Trailer Watchdog, I would have noticed that something was off with that tire.
Oh, yeah.
Because it would have increased the heat of the tire.
Absolutely.
And
or you would have seen a loss of air pressure.
I ended up flat on the side of the road, and then my spare was flat. and this was back when I had Boat US. So then I had to wait an hour to call Boat US because I had a single axle. I'm done, dead in the water.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to leave my boat on I-35. So the guy had to come out, but I was like, hey, you can't really change it because the spare's flat. So then that tow truck guy had to take my spare to the gas station to fill it up with air. And then it was just one of those disasters.
Yeah.
And I've also had one, towing in college where, we literally looked back and it was on fire. Like it was on fire. And that ended up being a boat on the flatbed situation. It wasn't my boat. It was my partner's boat, but it was just one of those where had it for about a year and one of those seals or whatever it was in it. And we had to use the fire extinguisher from the boat to put the tire out.
Yeah, dude, when them tires burn, dude, they burn hot.
And we were rolling with another team from Oklahoma.
Didn't they notice?
They were like a half mile ahead of us. And this was 2007. Yeah. So there wasn't great cell phone service. And we were on our way back from freaking Arkansas. So we're right there past Darno where there's no cell phone service. So they just kept freaking rolling. We couldn't get a hold of them because we didn't have the cell phone service. Someone pulled over. It was a disaster. But yeah, that was an actual fire.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Anything else? We covered a bunch of stuff today.
No, it was fun. It was fun.
See,
I'm just exhausted, man.
I know. How much longer do you have with the whole family in town?
Till Saturday.
So that's a 10-day venture.
Yeah, I love having them here.
Yeah,
but it's chaotic and late nights every night, and
when you're not drinking, you're not hydrating with bottled spring water.
I am not hydrating with bottled spring water.
There's Frankie.
I'm more hydrating.
And Frankie's fresh and ready to go.
Yeah.
He's not on the tail end of it. He's just getting started.
Yeah, that's what scares me. I'm hydrating with garage beer and Coors Light.
Wait, it's going to be Frankie, Josh,
Noah, Kelsey, Josh,
and you.
Lily. Yeah.
And then you have boyfriends and
Noah and they're Noah's wife, Rosie's boyfriend, Jake.
Okay.
Lily, Josh's girlfriend, Lily, and Frankie's wife, Kelsey. So 11 people, counting the baby.
Man, all the convenience and liquor stores in the area are going to be like, why was early August such a big seller for us?
Yeah, dude, if we plan it, we got to plan for next August.
Were we running some sort of special or ad during that week?
Yeah, we got to plan for August.
You recoup all your expenses just in aluminum recycling cans.
Oh my God, dude. I'm just
still in stock. The Norman Fatboy True Perch color by Frank. There it is right there. Use the code capital BTL25. I would imagine that one will last at max a couple days.
Yeah. Like I said, though,
you're not on the you're not a seltzer. No, Frank is not a seltzer guy. I can answer that one for you.
No, I'm not a seltzer guy. I'm very meat and potatoes, to be honest with you.
Oh, speaking of which, I tried a new fish.
What'd you eat?
White perch.
Oh yeah, white perch.
Amazing. Same level as walleye and yellow perch, in my opinion.
Yeah, and here's the problem: they're invasive.
Yes,
white perch are invasive. We got a couple lakes here that are just polluted with these things.
Big enough to eat?
We can't get them. We're not growing them big. I mean,
this is exactly what they look like. They look like a white bass.
Yeah.
You cannot, if you get within a foot of them, both your hands start bleeding because of the dorsal fin and the gill plates right in here.
I know, dude.
So I threw a couple. I was like, I'm gonna, looked up all the regs and all that stuff because sometimes with invasive. Anyway, I was like, I'm turning some of these into tackles.
Got to.
And they were like 13 and a half, 14 inchers.
Those are nice. Those are nice.
They were nice.
Perch.
They were like pound and a halfers. And
that's the top of their line, dude.
Tons of white bass where I grew up in Illinois, tons of white bass in Oklahoma. You clean them. You have to go a 1/4 inch above to get the bloodline out. They're just a little bit gray. They're good eating fish. White bass are, but they're not a crappie or a walleye or a yellow perch. I filleted these things and immediately you could just tell from the consistency of the meat. They clean really good because they've got a firm backbone. You can use your electric. You can just, you don't have to worry about going through them. The meat is firm and white and flaky, very faint bloodline in them at all, but snow white, crystal clean, one little line of pin bones in them. It's a mix to me between a yellow perch and a walleye on the fillet. Like, I give them a 10 out of 10.
Perfect.
It's a top 3 fried eating fish for me in freshwater now.
Perfect, dude.
Have you had them?
I have not eaten a white perch.
You absolutely have to try white perch.
Like I told you, dude, I'm not catching them big enough to put a knife in them.
Like you could catch 1 billion of them that size.
Yeah, we get them hand size here. And they come to play, dude. They're not shy. They'll eat whatever you throw in front of them.
Yeah, but I probably, most of the ones I caught were like right around that size.
Oh, see, now that's a good one.
Yeah, like a 14 and a half, 15 incher.
Yeah, see, now that's a good one. If we had them like that here, I would knock the sides off of a few of them.
Yeah. If you ever come across them and you're looking for something to eat, though, these suckers right here. And I think it's a northeast thing because we do not have them here. Those would be considered white bass, but they're not white bass. The meat is not like white bass.
Mm-mm.
They don't act like white bass. They're not a yellow bass. They're not a white bass. They're a white perch.
Yeah, and they were invasive. I don't even remember how they got here, to be honest with you.
So like this is the size of like a lot of what you're catching, like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like just little time wasters.
Yeah, time wasters. And then when you go ice fishing, those little bastards take everything you drop down there, and it's time to find a different place to go fish.
The only reason I kept him was Paul Mueller, Elite Series guy, is at Candle. He fishes Candlewood, fishes out there in Connecticut, that type of stuff.
And they have them there. I
remember him being really pumped to bring home a bushel of white perch. Talked about how good they were to eat. So I was like, oh, I'll give it a shot.
Why not? I mean, why not? You like perch.
Yeah. All right. Lord willing, you'll be around next Thursday. You just got to get through the next 3 days.
I'm going to make it.
Avoid the hornet's nest. I was chuckling when you were telling that at the beginning because you were talking about emptying the can of hornet spray.
Oh, yeah, I unloaded
like we have like a little like bug killer deal here. And, you know, there'll be like, you'll open our garage door and there'll be like a cricket in the corner. And Court will empty an entire can onto that poor cricket. It's like right on the stoop, and I'm like, that's gonna pool. Like that's gonna stay in the cement. That cricket could have just been hot. I mean, that thing just gets doused and the can's empty in about 30, just a solid.
You told her just leave the cricket.
Yeah,
the frog will come and eat the cricket, and then
17 inches from it, just giving it the business. I mean, the thing's cut in half with the freaking power of the spray.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh man, yeah, man. I put that nozzle right in the hole and emptied half the can in there. And then I go, oh my gosh, what if it leaches into my house? Then I'm gonna have to repaint the dining room.
Did you have time enough while you were in the air on the ladder to like comprehend what was happening, or was it all just bam, bam, bam? What the hell was that?
It happened so freaking fast. It happened so fast. Like I knew the minute I stepped down and I was off the ladder, I knew the minute that because I had put all my weight on my down foot and it never touched anything. And I went, oh my God, I'm going down.
TP2273, great point. Hopefully we get this. Frank is nothing but appreciative of the full house.
Oh, yeah.
He said, I wish I had the problem of family in the house. You were blessed. You do have talked about how much you have enjoyed it. It's just, I mean, it's just me and Court. When I have friends over, sometimes I'm like, hey, you know, it's 8:00.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But no, that
love
sounds like a time.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of fun. I love the kids. It's rough on me because I'm,
a loner.
No, I'll sit in front of the TV, watch a baseball game, have a couple beers, and call it a night.
Yeah. What are you? Are you grandpa? Are you papa? Are you gramps? Like, what's your?
I'm papa.
Papa Scalish.
Yeah. Papa.
Love it. All right, get your trailer watchdog stories in. We got the new color. We covered a bunch of stuff. We're live. We should be
We'll be live next week.
We'll be live next week. I was just saying, I mean, I think we're here for the foreseeable future.
Outstanding.
So. All right, I need to find the music. There's a new bar so I can start it. So like when I bring the music in.
I'm glad you're doing all that because I can barely operate my phone.
Sometimes I can. Directly facing the screen like this so it looks like I'm looking at you even though I'm not looking at you. It's because I've got multiple screens here that I'm trying to finagle everything. Do you ever remember like when Jeffries was doing it and you'd like ask him a question or something and he would just completely ignore you for like 5 or 10 minutes because he was busy setting up everything? I used to always be like, God, just answer. And now I understand it.
Oh yeah, no, dude, I don't know how you do it. When I come over there and we're in the same room and you're doing all that, no more Uncle Frank. Now it's Papa Frank. Yeah, we'll keep it at Uncle Frank.
Frankie told you not to go after the Hornets in the daylight.
Yeah, I did it early in the morning and then let it rest and then went back up there when I thought everything was.
Oh,
okay.
You thought you were in a safe. You thought you were in safety.
Yeah.
Clay's done mowing. All right. You should throw the MLF on and watch him whack those largemouth. Cole Floyd doing some damage with the old chatterbait.
Yeah, that place he's at will never be the same.
I'm so screwed. I live in Oklahoma now, and I spent the last week at Champlain with 2 Canadian firefighters in the house, and now I'm finding my hard A's again, like bag. Of course, like, why are you talking like that?
You're like, what do you mean, eh?
All right, we'll talk to everyone next week. See ya.